Okay, okay, so we're finally live. We're finally live with more problems again. And the people who want to write questions, I got the box open so I can see your questions that come to us.
I cannot hear them. Just hold on.
Don't be. Hang on there. Don't be worried about. So anyway, okay.
Hey, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can hear
Hello?
you. So how are you?
Fine.
How are you doing, Emmanuel? How's everything? Am I saying your name correctly? Is that how you say it?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you clearly. I will turn off the television if you do not mind.
Yeah, well, we're glad we finally got him on the line. We had a few technical difficulties there. But,
yeah, and it's not us.
Okay. Okay, this time it was me.
Oh, hi.
It was me, endless, unfortunately.
So
the time it's not that viable as we would expect. Okay, so what was your first question?
Oh, I was just wondering, how is it you say your name? Is it Emmanuel?
There must be some problem with the sound. So you asked me something about the manuals.
No, how do you say your name?
My name, Emmanuel.
My name?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, we're glad we finally got you on the air. We were, sound like we wanted to talk about a, variety of things, mostly probably about language learning, but, I had a little bit of interest about Mongolia too. Before we get started, do you want to just tell us really quickly a little bit about yourself, anything you might want people to know?
So, okay, what do you want to know, basically? When I started to learn languages and things like that?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. You see, I live in a multilingual country, Belgium. They speak French, Dutch, and there is a small German-speaking community. I'm a French-speaking, and I started to learn English when I was about 13 years old. But the quality of language teaching, mainstream language teaching, is not that good. It's not that good. You have to wait for a long time before you get the interesting part of the language courses. The first years you learn tons of irregular verbs and things like that, and very quickly the pupils get fed up. So for me, it went much better when I began to become self-taught. I started to learn to make translation at home. I listened to music, to the radio. I watched BBC and things like that, and I became a bit more skilled in English. But after more than 20 years, 25 years, I'm not a full bilingual, you see. I can express my thought, of course, but I'm not a real bilingual. So for other languages like Swedish, Swedish, and there are many others actually. I've been self-taught, but I have a lot of practice. I have a lot of practice behind me, in the sense I lived for a little while in Sweden. I also read a lot of books in Swedish. Not the easy one, actually. I can provide you some example, like this one. It's June by Frank Herbert in Swedish. I don't know if you know a bit of sci-fi. Also this one, for you that will be more inspirational. It's a Bible. Okay, that's a Swedish Bible. I also have some books written by August Strindberg, was one of the most famous Swedish writers and dramaturge. And that's how I made my Swedish a bit better with time. Also watch some TV broadcast on the internet, and also listen to the radio and things like that. And of course, the most interesting moments have been when I could put my knowledge in practice in Sweden, and also with Swedish native speakers, not only from Sweden but also from Finland, because there are some minor differences. I've done the same with the other languages I've learned. But okay, I said I've learned languages. There are also languages I've studied. It's a bit different. So there are languages that I studied, but I do not really speak fluently. And sometimes that's a very basic, like in Czech, where are the toilets? You see, that's really survival Czech. Huh? So that's how I learned languages. A lot of practice. Of course, there was a foundation with some grammar books and things like that. But you see, I do not see myself really like a great polyglot. Actually, all these languages I've learned before, I learned them almost by accident, because okay, for example, with the Swedish, when I worked for a Baxter company, I had some Swedes in the same office, and I was listening to them as the language sounded very familiar to me. So, okay, I got interested in learning Swedish after perhaps 1 month, no, not 1 month, 7 weeks. 7 weeks, I began to speak Swedish, because the basics are very easy. But to get it really good, it took not months but years.
And you know what you're really known for now, what the videos many people have seen are your Mongolian videos, probably, where you talk about Mongolian. So maybe you could just really briefly tell us a little bit how you got interested in Mongolian, and how you've gone about learning that language.
Okay, it started when I met my wife, when we began to be involved. Actually, it's also occurred by accident, because I was digging in a library, and I've seen a book about classical Mongolian. Very naively, I started to read it, and I caught some stuff. And perhaps a few months later, I met my wife, and I wanted to speak Mongolian with her, of course. But it was not the same language. You see, classical Mongolian is like speaking old French to a modern Frenchman. He will not understand 50% of what we would say. So then I started to learn modern Mongolian. I found some good books. Actually, there are not many, written in French and also in English. The best book I ever read about Mongolian language is written by a Swiss-German woman called Rita Kuhlmann, and she has written a 300 pages book, really very well detailed. You know everything about grammar with this book, really everything. But it's not really for conversational Mongolian. So conversation, okay, I learned conversation with my wife. I also, of course, learned to improve my pronunciation with her. And but I do not find myself productive enough for the time being to say that I speak fluent Mongolian. That is not true. Okay, I can write a text and write a few lines, perhaps a bit improvise around those lines. You see, but I have to prepare a bit before making my videos. So I have to be very honest about that from the beginning. I'm not yet a very proficient speaker in Mongolian. But when I was in Ulaanbaatar, I spent a few months in Ulaanbaatar with my wife. Okay, gradually I began to be more operational, more functional. So I could go to make some shopping in town, to buy our food, or to ask for information in the administration and things like that. So, okay, if people were patient, I could understand what they said. But you see, in Ulaanbaatar, they also have their accent, their slang, and it took me a while before I could really Oh, that's a bit difficult to explain that. Okay, to speak like the locals. Because when I learned Mongolian, my wife said that for the time being, you sound a bit like either over Mongol, that means Southern Mongolian spoken in China, or Western Mongolian because of the accent. Eastern Mongolian, because no, Western Mongolian for the accent. You see, there are different accent, dialects, and things like that. And when I learned Mongolian, I've learned with books. I had no audiovisual material like Pimsleur or Michel Thomas, things like that. No, I only had my wife. And yes, I watched some videos, a lot of songs and TV broadcasts and things like that, because Mongolians living abroad try to have some news this way. You see, they ask their relative to upload some TV broadcast on YouTube, and that's how they can see, for example, their TV news with 1 day of delay. You see. So, but yeah, something I can say about Mongolian. I know the grammar very well. So what I need now is to feed my vocabulary. My vocabulary is not yet very extensive.
So have you spent a little bit of time in Mongolia, have you?
Yes.
Have you spent time there?
Sorry?
Have you spent time in Mongolia with your wife?
Yes, last year 4 months.
4 months, yes. You probably got a good you probably got a little bit of an idea of what the culture's like, and you know, this wasn't going to be one of the major things we talked about, but I was a little curious about the food. You know, Mongolian food. I understand because of their lifestyle and the climate, you know, they eat a lot of meat and dairy products.
You understood the context that made me start studying and learning Mongolian. You see, when I didn't get interested only in the language. Of course, I wanted to know everything about my wife's culture, and also met a relative, of course, and also made friends there. I still have continuous contact in Mongolia. So I considered coming back quickly to Mongolia for a long term. But finally, that will be only for 1 month, because our baby is only 8 months for the time being. So next year we will spend some holiday to introduce our son officially to the family. That's name on YouTube, not on YouTube, but on Skype. But this time, okay, we will have a gathering.
And what's when you're having dinner with your family, with your wife's family? What's a typical meal like? You know, what kind of food are they serving, and how do you eat it?
Oh, you see, there are the so-called boats. Boats, that's the equivalent of a baozi, Chinese baozi, and also that's very common. And there are also the Mongol both it's cake.
The what?
Mongolian cake. Mongolian cake.
Oh, Mongolian cake. Okay, yeah.
There's also the hosho. Hosho, actually, it comes from Russia, but it's now very common in Mongolia. And every time they make and every time they feast, they prepare some hosho. There are also some Stuvan. I can give you a lot of names, but of course to describe them, that's also another matter.
Yeah,
but
okay.
There is a lot of meat, lamb meat, and for the Kazakhs who live in western Mongolia, their food is often based on also on lamb and horse meat.
Lamb and horse, yeah, and dairy. Probably a lot of yogurt and cheese and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Oh, and you know, just one more question.
There are a lot of sub-products of milk, you see, like arrot. Arrot is I call that a stone-hard cheese, but that's not cheese, it's curd. It's curd.
Yeah.
That's very hard, Actually, you would not bite in such a thing. You would break your teeth immediately. There are some Mongolian specialties that the goal was uh, to conserve, to keep the food for a very long while, for long term, because winter in Mongolia is very long, very long, very hard. You see, in countryside, it's normal to have less 30, less 40 degrees. I mean Celsius degrees.
Yeah.
And summer is very short. It's, I think, 1 month or 90 days, something like that.
So they're
There is
probably a very rugged people. I was kind of curious. Like in America, we have our heroes. People from the old West and military leaders that we look up to. And I was kind of curious. Do the Mongols, do they have, when you think of like Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan, the Khans that conquered most of Asia, do they look up to them as kind of like heroes? Do they have movies where they show those guys, riding across the countryside on their horses, taking over other lands and things like that? Do they have that in their movies?
These last years, they try to redefine the national identity around all those stuff like Genghis Khan and um, I know some Mongolians who are very fond of the national history, but I've been surprised that while discussing with others that some of them knew about nothing. Okay, they knew Genghis Khan, of course, but that was all. And I discussed one with my wife. She said, "Oh, I didn't know about that." You see,
Really?
the fact is that during the socialism era, people were not encouraged to study those things, and a great deal of the former noble Mongolians, so the people coming from the same clan as Genghis Khan, had been killed during the purge of the 1930s. So there are a lot of memories that were kept in the books, and the books were not open. And people were rather educated for yes, the socialist way of life. You see, you work, you get the meritocracy also, but these last years, I'd say last 10 years, even faster during the presidency of Elbek Dorji, the current president. For example, they have renamed the Sukbatar place. So Sukbatar place is really the central place of Ulaanbaatar. They renamed it Genghis Khan place.
Oh, really? Okay, they're trying to get their heroes, their national heroes.
Yeah,
well, that's good.
Become the national heroes. Now there is this big statue in front of the parliament. Before there was the mausoleum of Sukbatar. The mausoleum has been removed. But for example, about literature, Mongolian likes a lot of poetry, but also like some novels or semi-historic novels. For example, I have this one. You see Genghis Khan, but this one has been written by a Chinese writer. His name is Zhou Yotin. But this one, this book is the bestseller. I also have this one. This is the name is Mongolian Nostalgia, the secret history of the Mongols. This is the translation into modern Mongolian of a book written during the 13th century, commissioned by the son of Genghis Khan.
All right. Well, hey, I want to thank you. I was a little curious about Mongolia and the people, and so maybe I got off on a little bit away from the language learning, but learning about culture is it is a part about it does have something to do with learning the language. So, but Christophe, did you have some more of the language learning stuff that you wanted to go ahead and start dealing with?
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part of the sentence. Sorry.
Oh, I was asking
Uh,
Christophe if he had some more,
yeah,
like
yeah.
linguistics kind of things he
I'm,
might want to discuss with you.
Okay.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm getting some questions from people. I can answer one of them right away. Yes, he's married to a Mongolian woman that is a native Mongolian, and I'm getting some other things saying that it's difficult to understand from his microphone. I will agree with that. The okay, some questions that I think are pretty standard is what language is your favorite language? What language is your favorite language,
For the time being,
Manuel?
it's Mongolian. For the time being, it's Mongolian. But before I met my wife, of course, I spent a lot of time on Swedish to reach close to bilingual level. I have perhaps a more extensive vocabulary in Swedish than in English.
You do, or your
I
wife?
think so. But you see,
Yeah.
since I started to learn Mongolian, I dropped a bit my practice of Swedish. From time to time, I read newspaper, I watch television on internet streaming. But okay, now it's sleeping. So sometimes when I some a Swedish speaker on the phone, sorry. Uh, I received some phone calls. There is somebody speaking to me in Swedish, and I answer. Suddenly, there's some Mongolian words popping this way. Uh, so really, the language learning process has some effects on your your thought, on your brain more generally. It's like, okay, you are trying to do a move this way, and then you want to do it the other way. That's more difficult.
I think I know what
So
you mean, Emmanuel. Sometimes I will be out interacting with Thai people, and with my really like just getting started Thai, occasionally I'll be talking to them, and then I'll want to respond, and then some word from some language that I've studied before will kind of pop into my head. It won't come out of my mouth, but it's almost like I'll think of the word in that language instead of even English. Sometimes it's a little strange why that happens. It's probably beyond my expertise to discuss it, but I do think it's not unusual what you're describing. I bet probably a lot of other people that are learning multiple languages might describe the same situation happening.
Yeah,
I think that not everybody has a great flexibility in this matter. So sometimes I see some people making some monologues in their languages in one shot, and I say, okay, that this is not natural. Of course, they read, or they are very well prepared at video, but this is not natural. You cannot do that in a conversation. You see, directly, normally when you want to speak to another language, except for some people, perhaps some notable exceptions, but I think the brain cannot. It's not like a bicycle with the. I do not remember how we call that. You see, but okay, you want to change the speed, and you press this leverage. You see the metaphor, but the brain cannot do that this way. It's not that straightforward.
What about the when you went to one of the things I was curious about? I guess it's going back to Mongolia. Now, when you have gone there, have you found that they are generally pretty accepting of foreigners because they probably maybe haven't. It's not a big tourist destination, I'm guessing, so they probably don't get a lot of visitors. Maybe some business people show up, or maybe some people in your situation, but you probably stand out quite a bit in that culture, don't you? Someone that looks like you know, a Westerner. Or
Tourism is gradually developing in Mongolia, and there are some people who now are getting a lot of success with such industry. First, they welcome, of course, the foreigners. But for the man of the street, that's a bit different. For example, there are a lot of people complaining about foreigners. working for mining companies, and they speak only English. Okay, they will not try any other language, and they spent perhaps 3 or 6 months per year, but they never try to interact with the population. So
do the Mongols people as a whole would you say a large percentage of them speak English or some other lingua franca from their in that region?
That depends of the generation. The younger generation is enthusiastic in learning foreign languages, not only English. I noticed some remarkable person who could express themselves in French. And if I take, for example, my wife, she learned Russian at school as second language. And then she learned English. She learned English, but neither English or Russian is good. Our best foreign language now is French because she continuously uses it at home with my parents, and that was when she was in Mongolia. She spent some time as guide for French-speaking people.
Okay.
So that's how she began to experience the use of French in her daily life. Oh, Christophe.
So your wife is probably a fairly accomplished multilingual person too. Then it sounds like you could have conversations in multiple languages around your home, couldn't you?
I think she has been trained to learn a lot of information, to study a lot of information, because she is a medical doctor.
Oh, really? A medical doctor? Okay. Well, you're in good shape. If you ever have an emergency around the house, you got medical care on the scene, huh?
Yeah.
You're a lucky man.
I'm in very good hands. I'm very good hands.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to get to. I got questions, and I'm not trying to avoid some of these questions people are asking, but it's just that you guys are talking and I'm not interrupting. But
yeah,
going back to the. Okay, here's one. This one's from somebody you know, Robert. He's asking, what? This is back to the culture and the food. What do Mongolians drink as their alcohol? And how do they make their alcohol? Because as we know from my video, almost every culture has their own drink. So what do Mongols drink?
Yes, there is the arak. Arak is alcohol coming from fermented milk, horse milk. But,
did you say alcohol from a fermented milk?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yes. I bet that takes some getting used to, doesn't it? I don't drink, so maybe Joe and Christophe could try that one.
But you have to drink a lot.
Joe can try it.
Yeah.
Well, there were people in town, they would rather drink something like a vodka, for example.
Yeah.
But alcohol is a problem. There is a deputy at the Mongolian parliament who very regularly talks about that, and his name is Kombosuren Arslan. He is a former journalist, but if you want, I can send you a link to his YouTube channel. And the alcohol consumption among youngsters, even children, is also a problem.
Okay, so alcoholism is a big problem then in Mongolia. I had heard about that for Russia too as well. That it is a major issue there.
But let me be clear about that. If the police see a drunken person on the street, they take him and they put him in a cell. Okay, so the government, the police is not that lenient towards such problem. And of course, you cannot drive and be drunken simultaneously. That would be a nonsense. So contrary to what people believe, perhaps abroad, outside Mongolia, Mongolia has really has a government, and it's not a non-state. You see, it's not like some African countries where people actually do almost whatever they want, as long it doesn't cause problem to the interest of the politics. You see.
That alcohol made out of milk, is that made out of cow's milk or goat's milk or something like that? Or some other animal that they have there? Do you know what kind of milk is that?
Yak.
Normally, specifically from horses.
Horse's milk?
Ah!
Oh, wow. I never would have guessed that. See, we're finding out all kinds of interesting things. Now, see.
Hey, Robert, I guarantee Joe is probably lining up to try that right now. You know what
I
mean?
would not be surprised. I knew I could have guessed where that question came from. Thanks for submitting your question, Joe. We appreciate your viewing and submitting your comments and questions. But that's all right with me. I'm generally willing to try certain other things in other cultures. There's a couple things in Thailand I might not try. Like I'm not gonna they eat bugs in some areas. I'm not really gonna try the bugs, but
Yeah. There's actually a card. There's actually a card.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's really interesting. We're finding out all kinds of great things. I like learning about other cultures and other people. And
but if you ever have a chance to visit a supermarket in Ulaanbaatar, you will see that it's almost exactly the same as any other kind of a supermarket, perhaps in Europe or.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's very similar. Of course, there are some local products, but they import a lot of food from China and Russia.
Okay.
And also from.
Hey, a question. Okay, let's move on to so, when you went to the university, what did you study at the university, Emmanuel? What was your
chemistry? Nothing to do with. Nothing to do with computer science nor with languages. I studied chemistry.
Oh, okay. And well, okay. There's different fields of chemistry, of course. But how did you end up as a technical writer then? How did you become a technical writer?
Because chemistry was really it was really a disaster in chemistry in Belgium, because they closed all the factories, not all the factories, but a lot of factories. So it was pretty tough to find a job. So in the late 1990s, I began to work as a computer scientist, although I was not officially trained as a computer scientist, but I had some knowledges with database, programming, things like that. But I have not done the most interesting part of computer science. I was providing some support to the end user for many years. And in 2006, I received a proposal for a new position as a webmaster assistant. But the purpose of my job was to write some technical documentation related to IT support, and so that's how it started. They wanted a multilingual technician that was a bit rare. Somebody able to write in French, English, and also in Swedish. That was very interesting for them, and also somebody able perhaps to read other languages. So, if not to make some proofreading, in any case, to make sure that you are putting the proper document on the right place, even without knowing the language properly.
Yes, yeah. Technical writing is a very, very specific translation skill, because you have to be accurate.
Yep. That's why first, when I write my documents, I write them in English. It's much easier, of course, to write back to French. The opposite is a bit tough because when I speak French, now I notice with years that my speech became a bit complicated. So I prefer to write in English because I know that I'm a more simple-minded guy when I speak English, and then I translate to French. But the most important thing, I adapt my documents to the audience. So the audience is very important. There are different kinds of audience. There are some end users, there are some technicians, and you do not write your document the same way. You also I'm sometimes asked to use not a purely technical language.
Yeah,
I have to
common for people who don't know. Yeah, the largo di front. Yeah, you have to write in the way that a person who has no education can understand. I know that there's a big in Europe. I think the biggest technical writing jobs are actually for the people who can handle German, right? Probably get a lot of, you see a lot of people.
They are pretty hard to find outside Germany.
Well, yeah, yeah, depends. I mean, yeah, most of them live in Germany, but Germans, because German is so specific, it's because they don't leave anything out. When they make a word, it's it's everything. It's not. They don't cut things out like English. So that's I knew people who were translators for German. So
it's more accurate than English, for example.
What?
I noticed that it's more accurate than English. I noticed that. But you see, I also have written some documents in Swedish, and I noticed that sometimes when I wanted to provide the proper Swedish word, the Swedish audience did not understand it. For example, that's a keyboard, or Shiva, Hadi. So they, you were meaning Hadi. Yeah, but if you watch an IT magazine in Sweden, that's how Shiva they use. They use Tagenbook and things like that. So when I went to Sweden, I read a lot of IT literature in Swedish, and I was surprised that people living abroad, Swedish-speaking end users, don't understand some Swedish terms because, of course, people are bidding new terms, new words in Sweden, and people are not aware of that.
Hey, Emmanuel, did I notice earlier? Did you also have a headset that you were using at one point? Did you have a headset with a microphone speaker on it?
Connected. Okay.
Could you try to connect that?
What's that, Robert? What
I was asking him earlier. He had that headset on, and I thought it sounded really like it might be a little bit better than the one he has. But I couldn't be mistaken.
Do you hear me?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, let's continue.
But at least it's the same, so at the very least,
it's a little bit less echo, I think, maybe.
You know, I kind of wonder maybe we were picking up some echo from his microphone or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible because I'm using loudspeakers.
Yeah, probably. That's probably it.
I think it sounds a little better already.
Yeah. The questions then, because let's move into like the YouTube stuff. What got you interested? What got you interested in looking at the YouTube? I hate this word, polyglot people and
the polyglot community. You mean the community?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not an avid YouTube polyglot watcher. Okay, I'm creating a new neologism. I think neologism is my strong asset. I was interested to listen to guys like Richard Simcott because I found his pronunciation actually near to perfect in French. And also like a guy like Felix Wang, because But the problem with Felix Wang, okay, he's a very social guy. He uses his language skill wherever he go, but he very often talks about the same things. But I found interesting to know that he lives in Brussels, and if I have an occasion to meet him and discuss a bit with him, that would be a very nice, a good thing, because I think he plans to become interpreter. It is possible that he will work for my department then. Okay, there are other guys like Tim Donner. Okay, I have no special feeling about such a guy. You see, guys who are demonstrating the ability to pronounce sentences in 20 languages, but you see, that's monologue. It's almost like wanking. Okay, so
It's like what?
I will not repeat that word.
Okay.
But some probably heard it. Okay. Okay, so yes, it's like some audiovisual onanism. Okay.
Yeah, parlor
Okay.
tricks. I think would be the idiom.
Oh.
Parlor tricks would be the idiom in English, I think. Yeah. So, but I know that, for example, yeah, there's a lot of different groups of people that are on YouTube that just talk about, discuss, and then try to make money from languages. And yeah, there's a lot of differences. But I noticed that, for example, that you watch or you know Nelson, Nelson's videos, and you've seen some of my videos. And then, of course, yeah, there's a lot of people who are there are the people that have a lot of viewers and the people who don't have a lot of viewers, and there's a lot of people who are doing I like to call it like they're acting, you know, like they're learning scenes for a play, and they just memorize part of a script, and they go around and say that quite a bit.
You talk about this Irish guy.
Yeah, well, not just him, but the guy living in Ohio. The guy living in Ohio. He's probably the greatest example.
We're just talking about the community.
Huh?
We're talking about the community in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the differences. The difference of the people. The difference of the people. Yeah. And first, yeah.
Okay, let me put it this way. I'm nothing against people making some business with language teaching, but what I find a bit annoying is that people sell poor quality products.
Oh yeah, yeah. You want to make sure people are getting a good value for the money they spend, right?
The same fee as the more official language teaching companies like SML or perhaps Pimsleur and so on. Because this work made by SML, okay, there were linguists or teachers behind, real teachers, real linguists behind. That's not the case with, for example, Benny or Moses. I have nothing personally. I have nothing against those people as persons, but it leaves me a strange feeling in the sense that, okay, in my opinion, they do not sell language teaching. They sell language development, not personal development. You see, it's like Tony Robbins. They make a lot of blah 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 blah. People say, "Oh yes, that's wonderful," and we pay to attend this thing.
Yes, I understand. I understand very well what you're saying, because that's they're not qualified really to be talking about things. They don't have a lot of in-depth studying. Actually, Robert and I are going to go into. Well, no, we're going to do a different video before that, but I will be talking about that at some point. Yeah, actually, I'm going to talk. I got another interview that I will be doing soon with somebody, and we will be talking exactly about all of that. Because it's one thing to try to know something, and then it's another thing to be able to teach that. something to people, and that requires a lot of study itself and how to teach. And not going down that road too much right now, but that's the reason why that anybody who teaches somebody something of importance has to have qualifications. In chemistry, they have to have qualifications in English, they have to have qualifications in French. It's not just like anybody, hey, I know the periodical chart, big deal. You know, it doesn't mean anything. The point though, yeah, there's a lot of people. Have you, just out of curiosity, have you talked to the guy that also lives in Belgium, Felix? I think is his name.
Yes, I mentioned him a few minutes ago. I would like to meet him once, because I think that is interesting. He looks very friendly, so he doesn't sell the product. You see, he just he runs a blog. He runs a blog, a video blog, and wants to share his interest for languages. That's what he does. So perhaps we will say, okay, it's more like a kind of a guru, but I think the guy is very friendly, that's all. But yeah, let me tell you something about language teaching. When I was in Mongolia, I earned some pocket money by helping some people improving their English, you see. There was a woman who lived for 10 years in the USA, Mongolian, and her English American was actually very good. But she was doing some tiny mistakes. There was systematic mistakes, like confusing the continuous tenses with general tenses and things like that. You see, she often misplaced a tense for another one. And I helped her that this way. I was very cheap, actually. You see, it was about €5 for 1 hour. But then I said, okay, let's stop here. If you want to progress, I advise you to read and things like that, and I will show you. I will explain to you why it's like that and not like that. And because I told her, okay, I'm not a native speaker, you see, but I noticed your mistakes, and you asked me to help you. I will help you. You want me to pay me? Okay, I accept. Okay, there's no problem with that. But there is a moment when I said, okay, we cannot go too far with that. I don't heard about you when I have given these informal courses, but it was not meant to be a business. Okay, so my wife said, you have provided some help, you have given hours to help that person to make some homework, you have prepared some material and things like that. So a work deserves salary. Okay, I just want to spend time, not get bored in Mongolia. That's what I wanted to do. So, but something very important, I would say it in French, c'était mon point d'honneur. I explained those stuffs in Mongolian. You heard me?
Yes, yeah, that's.
I explained those in Mongolian, and I explained those stuffs upon the Mongolian grammar, explaining what were the correspondence and what were the difference. Even the cultural nuances, I explained that. So there are some people that who have a deeper knowledge of English than me, for sure, and deeper knowledge of Mongolian also, because I'm still at the border of A and B, in my opinion, in my practice in Mongolian. But okay, I studied systematically Mongolian grammar. I have an interesting experience for them in English, although I'm not an English native speaker, and I'm pretty sure that I'm much better teacher, native speaker in Ulaanbaatar. There are some guys who are teaching English. I know a guy from Australia. He's pretty good for language teaching, although he doesn't speak Mongolian himself. It was surprising, but he has an approach that actually makes possible his teaching. So, such a guy doesn't sell poor quality product. So I try to do something quite correct using my experience of technical writer. So I've created some documents, tables, and provided a lot of examples to that person, and she was pretty satisfied. See, if that person was not satisfied with my product, I would have stopped directly. I would say, okay, I cannot do that. That's all. But it's true that if I had an occasion even to perfect my English to the point that I can, for example, get some certification and things like that, would be nice. But I know that I'm not a teacher, I'm not a linguist, I just have an interest in linguistics or more specifically in grammar. But okay, it was more, the idea was more to help somebody than to put myself forward or to, okay, that was quite benevolent, despite that I received a salary. So I find more annoying to see some people who have a very basic knowledge of a language and start to teach it to other people. That's much more disturbing to me than what I do. Oh, somebody's typing on the keyboard.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's probably. I temporarily had to go respond to something here, and I forgot that I am using a laptop. So when I do, it's probably the sound is coming through my microphone. Yeah.
Sounds like squirrels. Sounds like squirrels.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, you know, this has been really interesting. Do you have anything else, Christophe, that you wanted to get addressed?
Well, I think people would like to know then. How many are you okay with the languages you know? Do you want to learn another 5 languages, another 10 languages, or are you more concerned with what is actually?
No.
Okay.
No. Simply quantity is not quality. I prefer to improve the quality of the language I already know.
Yes.
As far as
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I do not know for you as native speaker what you think of my accent, of my syntax and things like that, but from time to time when I get tired or after a conversation in another language, my English becomes a real disaster.
Yeah, I think that probably happens for a lot of people. That's probably not unusual. So as far as your family, you know, I don't want to pry too deeply into this, but as far when you have a child, what languages do you plan on communicating with in your family with your child? Are you going to bring them up speaking, you know, 2 or 3 languages? Which ones do you think?
Here in Belgium, we speak in French to my child, but from time to time we also speak in Mongolian. Also speaking Mongolian to my child from time to time. But I'm watching carefully on this issue because I do not want to cause some hindrance in his mother tongue language learning. His native. He lives in a French-speaking country. He has first to master French. You see.
Okay.
But my wife spontaneously speaks French to my child, but from time to time she speaks Mongolian. So I would not be surprised that shortly after he started his first words, that from time to time we will hear him speaking either in French or in Mongolian. If really the quality of his language acquisition is good, I will not dissuade him to learn Mongolian, of course. That's part of his cultural inheritance. He's not only my son, he's the son of his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And he has received 2 names. My son has 2 names. I've chosen the Mongolian name, and my wife has chosen the European name.
Oh, that's good. That's neat. Yeah.
Because in case we moved in Mongolia, my son, if somebody asks him his name, he can try his Mongolian name, and a lie won't be necessary. And for the administration, it might be even that would be good for him, because let's imagine, for example, my son wants to live in Mongolia after all. When he gets majority or whatever, for any reason. If he marries somebody and have a child, you see, in Mongolia, there's no family name in the sense your grand hear it. There are some what we call gentile, I think. So that's a lineage name. But the child has the patronym declined as a genitive and his first name. So, for example, my wife is Gongadashin Oyunsuren. So Gongadash is the name of her father, but the tribe name is the lineage name is Bata. So that's a very long name. But you see, that would be hard to decline my name in Mongolian, I think, or to translate it. So that's why I wanted him to have a Mongolian name.
And using their script, probably the normal script they use there. They use the. I noticed that you're using the Cyrillic script, right?
Yes, almost everybody uses it. Yeah. Most everybody uses it. The government wanted to encourage people to learn the traditional script, but for the time being, most people, okay, they do not have a deep understanding knowledge of the Mongolian script. You see, that's rather an orthographic script than a phonetic script like the Cyrillic adaptation. You see, the Cyrillic script tries as much as possible to reflect the spoken language. That's not the case with the traditional script. The traditional script reflects the literary and traditional, not the literary norm of the language, but that's a language people do not really speak. There are some difference, not really obvious differences between the traditional Mongolian as written with the traditional script and really the mainstream Mongolian as it is spoken in Mongolia, in the Republic of Mongolia.
Great. All right. Can you think of anything else, Christophe? Did you get any more questions, or did you think of anything else you wanted to ask?
I got questions, and I'll just try to answer some of these questions. And if I'm wrong, let me know. So, Emmanuel, of course you speak French, you speak English, you speak Mongolian now, learning. You speak Swedish. And you sprichst du Deutsch, yeah? You speak German, right?
Yeah, no, not Dutch, not German.
Okay, you don't speak German, okay. But okay, so those are the languages. Okay.
I can read it because I've learned Swedish and Dutch. So when I read it, okay, but I have not formally learned German and I do not speak it. But once there was a friend of mine who asked me a question in German, and I told him, said, "What? You understand German?" I said, "I don't know," but I was surprisingly I provided the correct answer. But no, I do not speak German.
Oh, okay. So I got asked that question about just the languages, but those are the languages you've already covered. That you only want to use languages that are useful, that are pragmatic, that are important. Languages that have some sort of use in your life. I think the high point of this conversation really is the horse milk alcohol. I think that's going to be the thing that's the thing everybody's going to remember. And if maybe Nelson would try that too. By the way, Robert, maybe Nelson.
I bet he would. Hey, Nelson, if you're listening, you can put a comment whether you would like to try that or not. All right. All right.
But no, that's about it. I mean, we could talk a long time about a lot of things, but I think that's a good, first interview. What do you say, Robert?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, Emmanuel. That was really informative. It was fun. I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and sign out, guys. Thank you, Christophe, for setting this up. It's been fun.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good night, everybody, all the viewers who watched. Appreciate it.
Yes. Have a nice evening in Chiang Mai. Is Chiang Mai the name of your city? Chiang Mai.
Yes.
Okay.
Chiang Mai.
So have a nice evening. Here it's still the early afternoon.
Yeah.
So perhaps see you for another interview if you want. I will try to interview. Perhaps I will try to contact Felix. You see,
Felix?
first
To contact Felix? Okay.
I think he's a good guy and he is, I think, pretty easy to talk with him. So that's something I will try. If not with him, perhaps another one. I see. Perhaps a new interview with Nelson. Who knows? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So,
well, have a good night, everybody.
Bye. Okay. Yep. Thanks a lot. Bye. See everybody later. Bye. Okay. My crap.